Now we'll talk about adding an event listener to a button. If you're following along, I'm working in 04_adding_listener.fla in the Chapter 13 folder in the exercise files folder. In this file, there's a very simple button on the stage. In order to work with a button in ActionScript code, we need to give the button something called an instance name. Instance names differentiate instances on the stage. For example, we could have 5 instances of this same button on the stage, and how would Flash know which one you clicked on or which one does what, without the button having some way to be distinguished? So in order to react to any kind of a button click, you first need to give that button an instance name. Let's take a look at how to do that. Select the button on the stage, and in the Property Inspector, on the left side, find the Instance Name text field. Click in the Instance Name text field, then type an instance name for your button. Here, always begin an instance name with a lowercase letter and don't use any spaces or special characters. I'm going to call my button simple, all lowercase, _BTN. Now, _BTN is a special naming convention. And this isn't just like something that we've used that organizes our symbols. But using this naming convention, Flash will help you write code. I'll show you how that works in just a minute. But I recommend whenever you apply ActionScript to a button, end your button's instance name with _BTN. If you do that, again, Flash will help you write ActionScript, which will make writing code a lot easier. So now let's create a new layer clicking the Insert Layer button. Name the new layer Actions. Remember, we want to hold all of our ActionScript in a layer called Actions, or some other name that makes it very obvious that that's where our ActionScript is. I'm going to lock the Actions layer so I don't accidentally put any art in the Actions layer. And then I'm going to select the first keyframe of the Actions layer and open the Actions panel using the keyboard shortcut Option F9. And that's the shortcut on the Mac. The shortcut on Windows is just F9. Remember, when you're working with instance names, you need to follow the same rules as when you create symbols. No spaces, no special characters. I'm going to resize the Actions panel by clicking and dragging at the top of the Actions panel. I'm going to move the Actions panel into the middle of the screen. Now, to tell a button to listen for an event, first you type the button's instance name. So in the code area of the Actions panel, type simple _BTN, remember that's the instance name of the button, and then a period or a dot on your keyboard. Notice what happens. The code hinting window pops up. This is only because you ended your symbol's instance name with _BTN. Here is where you find the code to add an event listener to the button. Glance at this menu and guess which option you would choose. Add event listener. See, that makes sense because you have the code hinting. Imagine if you didn't have the code hinting, you'd have to know to type add, and then event with the uppercase E, and then listener with an uppercase L. Code hinting makes it much easier to write your code. So what you can do is just double-click Add Event Listener. Flash writes the code out and starts writing the code for you by giving you an open parentheses. You get more code hinting below the code you just wrote. Now again, picture yourself as a tourist in a foreign country. I don't expect you to understand all the details of what this means, but you just need to know how to write the code. So after the open parenthesis of Add Event Listener, first thing we type is the name of the event that the button is listening for. The event that the button is listening for is a mouse click. All the events for the mouse are stored in something called mouse event. So the first thing we're going to do is type mouse event. Spelling and casing here is crucial. Type mouse with a capital M, and then event with a capital E. And this is all one word. Once you've successfully typed mouse event, you should see that the word turns blue. And now what we're going to do is use code hinting yet again. If you type a dot after mouse event or a period, Flash will show you a code hinting window. And from here, you can find the event that you're looking for. Remember, we're looking for a mouse click. See if you can find that by scrolling down in the code hinting window. And there it is, click, in all caps. Notice the other mouse events in here, also in all caps. Double click, mouse down, mouse move, mouse out, mouse over, mouse up, mouse wheel, roll out, roll over. So there you can write code to react to mouse rollovers and rollouts and the mouse being pressed down and released, etc. But here we're just going to choose click. So I'm going to double click, click. Now you could just type that in all caps, but sometimes I prefer double clicking. So now we've told Flash the event that the button's listening for. the button is listening for a mouse click. Next, we need to tell Flash one more thing. And to separate ideas or information to tell Flash, we're going to type a comma and then a space. Again, I don't expect you to understand all of what the comma and space means. If you're interested in knowing that, you can find all kinds of details in the ActionScript 3.0 Essential Training and ActionScript 3.0 Beyond the Basics titles. We're going to tell Flash a name of something called a function. We're going to talk about functions later, but very soon. This is not a name that's pre-built into Flash. This is a name that we're going to sort of make up. As far as naming conventions, for functions, you need to begin with a lowercase letter. And generally, you follow the same naming conventions that you follow with other objects in Flash, i.e., no spaces, no special characters. And we'll call our function stop movie with a capital M. Stop, all lowercase, and the movie has a capital M, and it's all one word. And again, this is not pre-built into ActionScript. You can tell because the code is black instead of blue. Now, type a close parenthesis, and then a semicolon. So let's take a look at this code again just to review. We have simple_btn, that's the instance name of our button, dot, add event listener, so it's connecting the button to an event. And then in the parentheses, there's two values separated by a comma. The first value is the name of the event, which is mouseEvent.click. The second value refers to a block of code that will run, or a function that will happen whenever the event happens, the mouseEvent.click event. Now, I don't expect you to understand what a function is. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Essentially, stop movie is just what happens when the button gets clicked. Now, at this point, if you test the movie, you're going to get an error. That's because stop movie is something that's not known by Flash. So what we're going to have to do is create something called a function and define what stop movie is and what stop movie does. We'll take a look at doing that in the next movie. But for now, there's a look at how to add an event listener to a button.